Hello everybody and welcome to Vaidya's Chess Hub for the episode 2 of our miniature study. Here again I'll present to you three lovely games to study. Games number 4, 5 and 6. If you haven't yet watched the miniature episode 1, I strongly suggest you go ahead and do that. You can again come back to this video, or maybe you can do that later after watching this. Alright, so let's get started straight away. The first game that I'm going to show you is from the Scotch opening. So white player played e4, black responded e5, knight f3 by white. So white is attacking the pawn on e5, and if you remember, told you that a piece or a pawn without support is called a hanging piece or a pawn. So that pawn on e5 is hanging. So black here plays knight to c6, protecting the pawn, and now white plays d4. Now this move is called breaking the center. It is also, this particular opening is called the Scotch game. Now black took and white recaptured with the knight. Queen to h4. Now this move looks definitely out of theory. The reason why black played it is to attack this pawn on e4, which is hanging. So white played knight to c3, providing defense for the e4 pawn, and black played knight to f6, attacking the pawn one more time. So it's a very good habit that the beginners should develop, to count how many times a piece is attacked and defended. So if you see here, this knight is attacking the pawn, the queen is attacking the pawn, and the knight is only defending it once. So you have the pawn attacked twice and defended once. So that is the thing that you should keep in mind. In chess, always remember, the opponent threatens to do something, but you should have your own threats, which in this case you'll find out. White played knight to f5. So the pawn remains attacked twice and defended once, but now white is threatening to take the queen on h4. So black must do something here. Black played queen to h5. Notice that there's no other safe square for the queen. Seriously, there is only one square that I can think of, but it is more or less with the same result. You will see why. So black played queen to h5 and white played bishop e2. And sure, black played queen g6, which now I'm certain looks like the only good move, but it's too late. They say it's never too late, but it's too late here. I would want you to find out what white played here. I want you to do that, and it is okay for you to pause the video at this point of time. And if you had paused the video, again, I'm pretty certain that you got what white's next move was. White played knight h4, and that means that the queen is trapped. Another lesson to remember, good players will tell you, do not bring out your queen too early in the game. Unless you reach a certain level, then you probably can indulge in that. But often it happens with the beginners. They bring their queen out too early, and then it is attacked by the minor pieces, and often it gets trapped like this. Let's watch why the queen is trapped very quickly before we go into the next game. The queen is attacked by the knight. You have this dark color bishop controlling these squares, and you have this light color bishop controlling this. The pawn controls it, and the pawns control everything. The pawn on g2 is protected by the knight, so the black queen really has nowhere to go. So fantastic. Let's go on straight to the next game. In the next game, you have the white player playing d4. It's a queen pawn opening, and black plays f5, which means that this is the Dutch defense. White played bishop g5. Actually, bishop g5 is with an intention of inviting h6, and which is what black did. He obliged. Bishop f4, g5, and bishop g3. And black for a moment was very happy here, because black played the move f4, and looks like this poor bishop here is trapped. There's no way out. And well, now white played e3, and now we must study a few variations here. I want first of all you to, I mean, h5 is what happened in the game, but I definitely want you to understand that if black is very hasty in taking this pawn on g3, then queen h5 is checkmate. And again, I want you to recollect what I had said during the first episode. This e8 h5 diagonal is always a problem. So black has no time to take the bishop. So black played the move h5, and white played bishop to d3. Now here again, well, black played rook h6. We're going to see why black played that. But again, just to show you, now if black takes the bishop, still it will be checkmate, not with queen takes h5 this time. Agreed that h5 pawn is now protected by the rook, but instead white can checkmate with bishop g6 with the same result. So again, the same diagonal but with a different piece. So that's why black still has no time to take the bishop, and in fact white is threatening bishop g6 mate, and therefore black played rook to g6. Here there is also a variation. I want to show you what if black tries to go d6 with an intention of creating a safe passage for his king, but we'll visit that in a moment. First, rook h6. And now here again, I would want you to pause the video to find out what is the best continuation for white. And I have no doubt that, I'm very optimistic, I have no doubt that you will find out what white played to win the game in 2 moves from here. If you had paused the video, here is the answer, which I'm sure you found. It's a queen sacrifice. Queen takes h5 is check. Well, the only move black has, sorry, not that one. The only move black has is to take the queen. If rook blocks the check, then queen simply takes it and mates. And here again with the bishop, it is simply checkmate. So let's go now to the d6 variation. If d6, then you have e takes f4. And now if black tries to trap this bishop by playing the move h4, here is something very interesting. You have the knight to f3, and after pawn takes bishop, you have bishop g6 check. The forced move is king d7, knight e5 check. Now if king e6, it's mate, and that is my homework to you. Yeah, call it my homework to you. If king e6, it's mate very soon, probably 4 or 5 moves. You find that out. So I'm going to deal with the pawn taking the knight. But your homework is what happens if black plays king e6. Okay, it's, I believe, made in 5, something like that. And here I'm going to focus on d takes e5. Pawn takes e5. That is d takes e5, and now it's a discovered check. The king moves, and now you can simply grab the queen, which should be game over. Now I have given you a homework, so I would probably want you to find it out on your own and then resume, because now I'm going to show you that variation. If king e6, because some people are very impatient, they just want to see. If you have immediately thought of something, here is the thing. Queen g4 check, king d5, knight c3 check, king takes d4, queen d1 check, king c5. Everything is more or less forced and easy to find out. Queen d5 check, knight support, can't take. Queen b6, and obviously queen b5 is checkmate. So this is just fantastic how in the Dutch defense on move number 2, white invited black to attack his, invoked almost an attack on his bishop, and that led to everything. And now for the last game that we are going to study in this session. This is in the Owen defense. Owen, Owen defense, not the oven defense. Okay, Owen defense. It's e4, b6. The idea is to fianchetto the bishop, and so white played d4, taking control of the center. If your opponent is not playing for the center, you play for the center. That's the whole idea. Black played bishop g7, and of course you should always ask why did the opponent make his last move? What was he thinking? The way he played, of course. Here bishop is attacking the e4 pawn, which is hanging. White played bishop to d3, and now black thought, maybe I'll just sacrifice his pawn on e5, so that if that happens, I'll be able to trap the rook by playing bishop takes g2. White also did give it some thought, but white thought a little deeper than what black did. And what happened is, after e takes f5, bishop takes g2. Do you see that? Of course. Queen h5 check, g6, f takes g6. And now here is something interesting. Of course, everybody would clearly realize that if pawn takes pawn, then queen takes g6 is checkmate. So in the game that did not happen. In the game, black played knight to f6, attacking the queen. Now, if it's okay to pause the video. Now, can you figure it out how white continued this? Okay. So g takes h7. It's a discovered check. The pawn was on g6, took the pawn, and it's a discovered check by the queen. Notice it again, the pawn, and the pawn takes pawn, and discovered check by the queen. Knight has to take the queen, that's the only thing. And now bishop g6 is checkmate. So we have done 6 games so far. The series will continue with more games to study. So far in the 6 games that I've shown you, how easy it is just to make sure that you don't suffer from this, just by keeping this e8 h5 diagonal covered if you're playing with the black pieces. I have no doubt that you've enjoyed studying them. I recommend you do it with the board with you so that you can follow the moves. Up until next time, as I always say, keep learning, keep enjoying, keep getting better. Thank you so much for your time. Until next time, bye-bye.